Welcome to USM MTG, the Magic the Gathering YouTube phenomenon
Exactly.
for the University of Southern Maine.
Everywhere.
We hold no rights to either of those copyrighted names, but nonetheless, we love them. I'm Caleb Dragon. I'm Dragon. Caleb1 Dragon, and
Sebastian.
that's Sebastian. And today we're doing a deck tech on his vastly overpowered EDH deck. Who's the general?
Crosis the Purger.
Crosis the Purger. All right, let's take a look. All right, set this up. All right, so let's take a close look at your general real quick.
Alright, so first up, my general, Crosis the Purger. He is blue, black, and red.
Woo. And
He costs 6. He's a 6/6 flyer. When he hits, I can pay 2 and a black, pick a color at random. My opponent reveals their hand and discards all cards of that color. I don't use him almost ever.
as with most EDH decks.
He is mostly there for the colors, and when my deck is not running as it should, he provides a good amount of control to give me the time to pick it back up. So I really cast him when I'm in a troublesome spot.
Awesome. All right. So first up, the heart and soul of any deck, your land base.
Lands. So I run basic lands, of course. I run 5 swamps, 5 islands, and 4 mountains. And the only reason I run 1 less mountain, I mean, I don't run many basic lands at all, but I only need 1 mountain out for hatred as a creature.
Which will show up in a little while.
When I go through the creatures, you'll see him.
Okay, so that's a relatively small basic land base.
Yeah.
For considering most EDH decks.
I've got a lot of land filtering and non-basic lands.
Okay.
So then I've got the non-basics that provide me with all of my colors.
Crazy mix of lands.
So I've got my Crumbling Necropolis,
Yeah.
comes in tapped and gives me 1 of 3
That's
land.
your colors.
Command Tower is
A
any
staple
color.
of EDH.
Rupture Spire, some people think it's too slow. I like it because it's versatility.
Okay.
Grixis Panorama allows me to filter for any of the basics that I haven't pulled yet.
Yeah.
If I'm short a color, I can use any color to go find that one. And Vivid Marsh taps for black, but for 2 times I can get a blue or a red out of it. And then Evolving Wilds is the same deal as the Panorama.
Yep.
So those give me any of my 3 colors. And then I've got cards that give me just a couple of multicolored, but only a few.
Of course, we got our, Rakdos Carnium and Dimir Aqueduct.
The Ravnica Bounce lands.
Yep.
A Sulphur Falls. I only tap land in here. I don't run many basics, so I don't want to run too many.
Yep.
And I'm also using my other ones. So that was available, and I didn't want to run more than 1 or 2 anyway.
Yep.
I also have 2 storage lands, the Molten Slag Heap and Dreadship Reef.
Oh yes, I know them well.
They can be used for mana ramp and also mana fixing. I can
Been on the wrong side of those lands many a time.
Then I have my Cycle lands. Good to pull these guys out when it's late in the game and I don't really need them, because...
So we got a Barren Moor, Polluted Mire, Lonely Sandbar, and Forgotten Cave.
So when I have enough red, I can just cycle it away and get an extra card out of it.
Yeah.
It also fills... I have a Threshold card, so it fills my graveyard for the early game. I have some cards, some land that help me get up faster. Crystal Vein, tap for colorless, or tap and sack it for 2 colorless. Ebony Stronghold comes in tapped, but does the same thing for black, so I can get some colored mana. And Temple of the False God, another staple.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Awesome. Alright.
So then, I have utility lands. I've got Mystifying Maze, because I don't have a Maze of Ith.
And because you're kind of a D-bag.
And because I'm kind of a D-bag. I have Spine Rock Knoll, the hideaway land.
Yes.
The only good ones in my colors. And then I've got Strip Mine and Strip Mine's friends Tectonic Edge and Ghost Quarter. A German Tectonic Edge, so it's a little better.
Ooh. Alright. Okay, so that's quite an impressive land base. We haven't even gotten to the to your instant sorceries or creatures, and you're already have ways of summoning stuff and
Right. So, the heart of this deck is it's a Reanimator deck.
Well, I just want to take a second and recognize your awesome playmat.
It's a nice...
I'm sure everybody in internet land will enjoy that.
The alternate art playmat, notice.
All right, so...
Mr. Steve Argyle does good work.
Yes, he does.
So, first, the deck has a lot of things going on, so I thought it was important to have some tutoring effects. So I have Demonic Tutor.
Nice.
I have Increasing Ambition, the new Dark Ascension tutor.
Oh, yes. Oh, what's that? Has it even been released today?
No, I'm a little ahead of the curve here.
Yay, pre-release.
And Limduel's Vault.
Okay.
Great filter card, instant speed.
Yep.
I can look at the top 5. If there's nothing I want, pay a life and go scribe the next 5 until I find just the answer I'm looking for. So those are my non-creature tutor effects. We'll get to a little bit more later. And then, again, because there's so much going on, I also like to have a lot of draw effects. So I've got Phyrexian Arena, draw an extra card a turn. I have my...
Rhystic Study.
Rhystic Study, one of my favorite enchantments.
One of my most hated enchantments.
Basically, it's either attacks or a draw card, and I like both. Yeah. This card, while technically is not a draw card, since it's Defining Top, it still helps me get what I want. It serves
probably one of the greatest cards in the game.
It's another staple. Factor Fiction, instant speed.
Yep.
I like creatures in my graveyard, so it really puts... My opponent never really has a good answer for how to set up the piles.
Yep.
And then Jace's Ingenuity, just a straight draw 3 instant. You know, simple. Not much that needs to be explained. So then I have utility cards that just help me get through the game. I've got Lightning Greaves to help my creatures.
Yeah.
I have Mimic Vat, good for when creatures start dying. I can, especially with Enter the Battlefield abilities, I can reuse them and get some card advantage while I'm setting up.
Absolutely.
Counter Lash is a great way to cheat something in and stop your opponent from doing anything mean.
From the new Dark Ascension set.
Also. And another card from the new Dark Ascension set, one I'm really have fun playing with, is Elberus the Binding Blade. Starts as just a really bad equipment, 7 mana for +1/+0 to equip for 1. But then, when you hit them, you get a 13/13 flying Intimidate Trample. And went really good in a multiplayer format because when someone dies, he gets 13 +1/+1 counters.
Oh, that's kind of annoying. Just a little bit.
A bit of a bomb. And then my last utility card is Nicol Bolas Planeswalker. I couldn't really help but put him in. He destroys things, he steals creatures, and he wins games. Are his 3 abilities.
Okay.
So then, after that, my deck starts getting a little bit more purposed. Because I'm a graveyard recursion deck, there are a couple artifacts out there, such as Relic of Progenitus and Tormod's Crypt, that really hose my deck. So before those come out, I have Jester's Cap and Bitter Ordeal to pull them out of my opponent's deck before they become a problem. So for 4 mana, Jester's Cap, tap and pay 2, get rid of exile 3 cards from their library. Those are my first targets. Bitter Ordeal does kind of the same thing, but only for 1.
And it has Gravestorm.
But it has Gravestorm.
So whenever something goes to the grave, you can copy it.
Really good after a board wipe.
Yeah, that's nasty.
So then I have Removal. I've got Terminate.
Yeah.
Classic. Solid removal. I have Crosis Charm. It's multifaceted, but one of my most common is a Destroy Artifact or Destroy Non-Black Creature.
Yeah. Occasionally
I use it as a bounce when necessary. And then I have Cruel Ultimatum.
Always
solid,
classic.
Powerful. Not too hard to play because of all my non-basics. Returns a creature, deals with a creature. I have Life's Finale as a board wipe option.
Yep.
It also dumps my opponent's creatures into the graveyard where I can go steal them later. And then Blasphemous Act, again, board wipe. Pretty easy to cast generally, especially in a multiplayer game where there are a lot of creatures running around.
Nice.
So then I have some artifacts that help me ramp into my mana for when I have to hard cast. So I've got Soul Ring. Soul Ring is Soul Ring.
A lot of people out there might not know this, but I hate Soul Ring with a burning passion.
He wants it banned.
I just hate it. Sorry.
Then we have Soul Ring's bigger brother, Thran Dynamo. A little less powerful, but does the same job. 4 mana's not too bad, and you get almost as much as you've invested.
Yep.
Pays off over a turn or two, obviously. Darksteel Ingot, 3 mana, colored mana, and it's indestructible. So, can't deal with it. I have Expedition Map, lets me hunt for a lot of those different non-basics if I'm short a color. Usually it's a Mystifying Maze or a Temple of the False God. And then I have the 2 Ravnica Signets.
All right.
2 of the Ravnica Signets, rather.
Moving along.
So now we're into the meat of the deck, the Reanimation. So, first, a namesake, Reanimate. 1 mana, get a card from your graveyard, and you lose life, but it's a turn 1. I like to, on turn 1, not play anything, just draw a card and throw away a creature and then reanimate next turn.
Yeah.
Profane Command, multifaceted. You can return a creature, you can kill a creature, you can give your guys fear, or you can drain life. I personally like killing a creature and returning a creature. Animate Dead, can hit my opponent's creatures, gets -1/-0. Dread Return has flashback. If I've got a few creatures out, I can bring it back for no mana. Beacon of Unrest returns creatures or artifacts.
Always good.
And shuffles back in,
yeah.
So I might be able to do it later. Stitch Together, for 2 mana, return it to your hand, but if Threshold's active,
Yeah, there's your threshold.
I get it to the battlefield. Rise from the Grave, hits any graveyard.
Yep.
Zombify, a little cheaper, but only hits my graveyard.
Yep.
Torrent of Souls, if you pay red and black, it not only brings a creature back, but it also gives all of your creatures +2/+0 and haste.
That's nasty.
That's very nice, especially with effects, even less than attacking.
Yep.
Then I have Grimoire of the Dead. Discard the fatties from my hand, throw them in the graveyard, and then pull all the creatures from all graveyards back, like a Liliana Vest on a stick.
It's like a,
Right,
Rise from the Grave, except nuclear.
And then my last one is Living Death. You exile all the creatures in everyone's graveyard, sacrifice all creatures, and then bring all those exiled cards back on the battlefield.
Living Death does many a time here at USM, and it's not been fun.
The reason I showed Living Death first was because the next set of cards were cards that I used to get creatures from my library, usually, into my graveyard.
Starting with
the most powerful of them, Traumatize. I love to traumatize myself, mill about 40 cards, and then Living Death, and I'm always on top.
Good staple for mill decks, and apparently for your EDH deck.
Reanimator deck should look at Traumatize. Then I've got Buried Alive. Pretty solid. Just 3 creatures from the grave. And then for only 1 creature from Entomb, but it's 1 mana and instant speed.
Yep. Okay.
So those will get guys that I'm searching for. It's almost like another tutor ability.
After all that, we now finally get to creatures.
We finally have the creatures that I'm working with.
Comparatively, spells and creatures. I think you might run a little spell-heavy deck.
Well, the creatures, it may be creature light, but the creatures are heavy.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What we got?
So first we've got the utility creatures. We have Trinket Mage.
Yep.
Hunts out the Soul Ring,
or the
Dividing Top.
Yeah.
Mole Drifter draws cards. If I have to reanimate it, gets me some more cards. Shriek Maw is the other evoke creature, just some removal.
Nice.
White decks don't like this card, Strong Cabal. The meta here is very white heavy, and I can just tap it, lose 1 life, which is not a big deal when you start with 40, and counter the white spell. Corpse Connoisseur acts the same as Entomb, shoves a creature in your graveyard, and his unearth cost will let you do it again, and it's cheaper than his initial cost.
Nice.
Anger, I like to keep him in the graveyard.
Anger is awesome and self-descriptive. Whenever you play that or get it into your graveyard, doesn't matter, your opponent's not going to be happy.
Not at all. And then, this one is in the utility as well, Dread Cacodemon. Even though he's a big guy, I don't like to reanimate him, because his ability affects when I play him from my hand. And that is, board wipe on my opponent's side, a Plague Wind, but taps my other creatures.
Yeah.
Usually not a big deal, because I'll do it post-battle phase or something.
Yep.
So then, we have my creatures. My reanimation target creatures. My favorite is Sheoldred Whispering one.
And everybody hates Shoulder.
In this format, so powerful. She reanimates by herself, and she's removal by herself, and then she's got Swamp Walk and a pretty big butt.
Yep.
Butcher of Malakir is a good friend of hers.
Oh, yeah.
When I use Buried Alive, I usually hunt for these 2 and Fleshbag Marauder. When I get these 3 all out, every turn on my upkeep, I can pull out Fleshbag Marauder. I sacrifice Fleshbag Marauder to his own effect. Everyone else sacks a creature, and Butcher of Malakir's effect activates because I lost the Fleshbag.
Everybody's basically sacrificing 2 creatures a turn.
On my turn,
yeah.
And on their turn, another one. It's it's really devastating. Then I've got Runescarred Demon. Yep. Not bad in the Mimic Vat, or as a reanimation, get a big flyer, and any other card in the deck.
Yep.
Artisan of Kozilek.
Here come the Eldrazi.
acts as Reanimation. I am a big Eldrazi fan, and this guy, even if he's countered, you get something back for him for your trouble, and he's Annihilator is powerful.
Yeah.
Pathrazer Vulamog, just there for the giant body and the Annihilator.
9/9 Annihilator.
And he's not
Can't
easy
be
to
blocked.
block.
Yeah.
Three or more creatures, and he'll take out 3 creatures.
Alright.
Body Double comes in as a copy of any creature in your graveyard. So not only can you you play a creature from your graveyard, but the creature stays in the graveyard.
Yep.
So if I pick my Pathrazer, I can use another Reanimation spell and get another one out.
Yep.
So in a 1-card only format, a Highlander format, you can kind of cheat out a second version.
Keeping tokens is awesome.
Consecrated Sphinx.
Now, I hate Consecrated Sphinx just for the mere fact that you have Consecrated Sphinx and Rhystic Study in there, so you get to draw 3
pulling
every time.
cards, usually over the 7 mark, and I don't put any cards in here that let me have over 7 because I like to dump the creatures into my grave. I've got Thraxamunder. He used to be my general. I've come to like Crosis a little bit more, and but the haste is powerful. Everyone's sacrificing. Good with the combo mentioned earlier.
Nice.
He gets really big really fast. He's usually swinging as a 7 or 8 immediately. New card, Micaias the Unhallowed.
Nasty card.
Interesting. 5/5 Intimidate's not bad. The human ability is not very relevant, but the last ability, non-humans, which is everything except for Trinket Mage, gets 1/1 and Undying.
Yep.
So, even when you deal with the thing I just brought back for 2 mana, you got to deal with it again, and it's even bigger.
Yep.
Then we've got Karavek the Merciless.
Always nasty.
If he had blue in his cost, he'd be my general, because he hurts. Every time everyone casts a spell, even just to deal with him, they get punished for it. He's creature removal, he can kill people, he's powerful. We've got Inkwell Leviathan, a classic, a shroud, a gigantic body.
Island Walk, Trample Shroud.
Fun against blue decks.
Yeah.
Not so fun for the blue decks. And the last couple, we've got the Avatar of Woe. Occasionally I don't need to reanimate it because the deck likes to fill the graveyard with creatures.
Yep.
So he often just costs 2 mana.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And again, creature removal is nice. We've got Wormcoil Engine. Some life gained to offset just the natural black Dilemma Duel's fault and the reanimate.
Yep.
And he's a big body, he poses a big threat. And finally, I've got Arcanus the Omnipotent. More card drawing. Tap to draw 3. If I have anger, I can do it immediately, so no one can do anything to deal with it. And if I'm ever in a point where they are going to deal with it, I can tap him, draw 3, and then bounce him to my hand and play him again.
Insane.
So that's my EDH deck. It does pretty well. It's powerful, it can be fast, and when it's not fast, it can really push through in the late game.
Any idea of win statistics?
I've recently been tweaking, added the Dark Ascension. Since I have, in its current form, it has lost 1 game, that game to your Glissa deck, and that was
Glissa the Trader deck.
Due to a huge player on my part where I limb dual fault about 15 life more than I had to.
Past your demonic tutor.
Past my demonic tutor to find the answer I was looking for. So, wasn't thinking, but besides that, it hasn't really lost. I haven't played more than maybe 10 or 12 games with it, but it's 11 out of 12 is not bad.
Alright. Sounds good. Well, we'll see you next time. USM MTG.